Hey, welcome to my podcast. I am so thrilled to be able to get started on this journey with you and just share about what God has been doing in our lives and be able to pour out into your life, into this generation. We're going to be talking some spicy topics, and the whole idea behind the podcast is to be able to share on controversial topics, trending news, things that maybe are not talked about or things that are not spoken from a biblical perspective. How does the Bible see that situation? So we want to dive into it. And today I have my beautiful wife here with me to kick this off and to start off this podcast journey. Come on, baby. Ain't it true? Ain't it happening now? Come on now.
So those of you that are listening, my name is Rebecca Arguez, and this is my husband, Andy Arguez. So welcome to his podcast channel.
Woo! I love it. You see, she's ready to host already. So we have been married now, my love, for going on 15 years, right?
Is it 15? I thought we were going on 14.
I know, but we're getting close to 15.
Don't be confusing me. That's dangerous.
So we're going on 15. We're getting there, right? Mm-hmm. We're almost a dime and a nickel.
That's right. That's right.
And so, it's been a journey. And we want to dedicate this topic to love and sex.
Yes.
And
that's a good topic.
I mean, it's a hot topic.
Come on.
And it's something that it needs to be said. And, we have a lot of things going on. So first of all, talk to me a little bit about your story growing up. What was it like?
Oh, okay. So I'm a PK. If those of you that don't know what that term means, it's a pastor's kid, born and raised in a Christian home. My parents were pastors and pastoring a church from the moment I was born until maybe 5 years in. And then from that point, I was just going from one church to another. So I was just raised in the things of the Lord. And so I never really had that exposure to outside the cluster or bubble that I lived in.
Yeah, so you were a goody girl.
Yeah, pretty much.
Goody girl with a little bit of edge.
There you go.
Because you had some spunk years in your teenage years, right?
Rebellious years.
You had your rebellious years. And so you go from that, PK lifestyle. Your parents were pastors, grew up in church, tambourines and all.
That's right. With
the skirts with the fur. And you.
Oh my God, you can get me started.
Get started. That's what this is about. So, and you were a dancer, right?
Danced
you danced for many years.
Many years. That's one of the things that kept me focused was that I danced. I had a stepmom, one of many. But this one in particular owned a dance studio. So I took 13 years of dance for free.
And now she puts that dance on display for me. Ha!
Oh my
Shebobo.
Glory!
So, you know it. So, my story is the opposite. I was this, wannabe, thug or pimp or whatever. And I mean, basically baseball was what kept me alive. Like, I was playing baseball since I was 5. My dream was to be a Major League Baseball player, was good at it and had a gifting, but really started going sideways in my early teenage years and more so in my private life, doing drugs and getting involved with crowds that were gangbanging and eventually being in shootouts and almost being killed and having that life-death experience, near life-death experience where I called upon the name of the Lord and on my knees in my bedroom encountered the love of the Heavenly Father, encountered the power of Jesus Christ, was delivered instantly and was radically transformed. I mean, I burned bags of worldly music, of porn, of magazines, of you name it, just drugs just left it all. And even left baseball for a time. And I mean, God bless her soul, my grandma, she wanted to beat me with her Cuban pot, because from when I was a kid, everybody thought I was just going to be a Major League Baseball player. But man, I ended up finishing that up, but got on fire for God, started serving the Lord. And that's where I met this beautiful jewel. Come on now, bonbon, like the Cubans be saying, un bonbon. Yeah, so we met at church.
He was my youth pastor, y'all.
All right, this is a scandalous story now. Pure, no, it was pure, but it gets good because, I was single for 10 years. Mm-hmm. I went from clubs in the streets to being single, right? And that's not easy. Being a man single 10 years.
Imagínate.
Imagínate. In Miami, in 305, Candela. Coming in hot. There you go. You might ride or die, girl. So, we met in church, and I just saw this beautiful young girl, just dancing for the Lord, on fire for God, and she was just younger than me. And
never had a boyfriend.
Never had a boyfriend, all right. Sheo. 0 miles, and I was like, my kilometer was going off the odometer, but that's okay. God had mercy on me. He still loved me. But I was pastoring really young, and actually, at first, I didn't like you.
I know, because I was a tomboy.
You were a tomboy.
I didn't really take care of my physical appearance. I didn't care to take care of it. I have a lot of brothers, and my... What
was your nickname?
You want to go there? Oh my gosh. So I had
it's so mean.
It is. But it didn't hurt my feelings. It was
that
like,
much.
That's just a reality.
Here, let me pray for you right now.
Well, because it was like, to me, it was like, whatever.
It was a joke. It was an inside joke, but it was mean. And I probably would have been canceled if it was now. But I'll call her Miss Piggy. All right? Because, she just had her...
Chubby cheeks.
And chubby...
chubby all around. I was just fluffy, I was like...
But she loved the Lord.
But I love the Lord. I honestly had no reason to really get dressed up for, because my mind wasn't about attracting opposite sex. It was more like just doing me and, enjoying myself in church. And
thank you, Jesus. That's the great part about it, is that you were focused on that in that regard, getting on fire for, and you're younger than me, so I didn't see you in that way.
Right.
But as you started growing in the things of God, I started seeing you. Like Avatar, I see you. So, I was, serving the Lord. I was a pastor at a young age, had a youth ministry, was growing. You're one of our leaders. And I started noticing as you were getting hungry for God, winning souls, and I started falling in love with your heart for God.
Okay.
The fire, and the love. I said, man, if this woman loves God the way she loves me just a little bit, then for the way she loves God, I'm going to be all right.
We're going to make it.
We're going to make it, Jesus. You know what I mean? So full circle, we ended up tying the knot, right? 2009.
Yeah, in 6 months.
In 6 months. Hey, cut me a break now.
Yeah.
10 years single. You think I'm going to be waiting 2 years to get married? The devil's a lie.
Well, we had known each other for 7 years total. Yeah. So that the courtship and getting to know each other was very fast, because I knew who he was inside and outside of church, and he knew who I was, but we were getting to know each other as friends.
I knew when God spoke, and that's a whole nother story on how God confirmed all of that. But I knew when God spoke, it wasn't going to be a long time. Yeah. And, the Lord brought several confirmations. We got to do a whole nother podcast on that. But we ended up getting married, right? And life just, you had some big shoes to jump into. You went from a disciple or a leader within our team of about, 2,000 youth or whatever. Yeah. And then, you went from that to my wife, to a pastor, to a mom.
Yeah, I got pregnant in the honeymoon. Praise him. Was not part of our plans, but we still...
Boom! It was straight up,
Thank you, Jesus.
Sniper.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, she's already pregnant. And crazy. So that changed our life radically.
Yeah, radically.
Now, one of the things that we love is talking about love and talking about sex and talking about marriage.
A whole lot of sex.
A whole lot of sex, Jesus. The more we're married, the more sex we want. Give me the X, the E, get with the S, E, X, all of it capitalized with exclamation points.
The cherry on top.
And so that's the beautiful thing. And I feel that there's a lot of marriage failure going on. As a matter of fact, studies are showing 50 to 60%, not just secularly, but Christians, believers are divorcing, and so
that's so sad.
I think I don't know if it's 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 don't make it after the first year or two.
Yeah.
And so
we could relate, because that was kind of our trajectory.
Our first year, we could have very easily gotten divorced because of the pressure, the stress, all of it accumulated, disrespect, finances. Yeah. The drama that comes with ministry and family.
Yeah.
And we always said divorce would never be in our vocabulary, but in that first year,
we used that word.
That word came up, and very easily we could have just called it a quits. But thank God we didn't.
That's right.
and literally God helped us to break a curse
Yeah.
from both sides of our families. And there was a lot of issues there. It was my fault and your fault. It was
Right.
both sides. There was
Big time.
disrespect, there was dishonor, there was lack of love.
Yeah, we can get into that in another episode as well.
Stay tuned for more. And so,
Yeah.
you know, it was something that it wasn't easy, but I can definitely say that our marriage today, I mean, has grown leaps and bounds. I'm more in love with you today than I've ever been.
Oh,
I passionately want you
come on.
more than I ever
Oh,
have.
boy.
And we want to be able to share this because I feel that there's many marriages that fail and didn't need to fail, or are struggling right now and don't need to be struggling. And either they're not getting the help that they need, or where they're going, they feel that can't happen to me. It's too late. It's not over. What do you think? Why are marriages not working? What do you think is the main cause that you're finding in couples and in women? What's the struggle in women?
I think that it has a lot to do with pride. I think it has a lot to do with the flesh and, getting too wrapped up into the justification of how I feel and how you made me feel. And just standing your ground and not humbling and not saying, you know what, you're wrong, I'm right, but let me be the first one to surrender, to yield, to let down my guard.
That's good. Or finding common ground.
There you go.
Yeah. Do you have an example of something
Like
that
lack of communication.
lack of communication?
Yeah, like in the beginning, it was hard. It was so hard because I expected him to communicate at my standard, and it was never really talked about. So whenever I would share my frustrations or whatever, I wasn't, really being clear with him, my expectations.
Yeah, you wanted me to be the prophet that could discern every single thought that was going in your mind and know what you wanted before you wanted it and know exactly what you wanted in the right moment and figure it out. I had to decode
hey,
you.
go easy.
Okay.
Okay, this is the first show.
Let me go easy, like Dwight style in The Office. All
Oh
right,
my
I'm gonna go easy, but hey, you can come hard at me as well.
That's
Because I mean, this is a two-way thing, right? It takes two to make things go right. That's what they say. But yeah, it was a challenge with the communication. I felt like I was, growing feminine hormones from how much I needed to communicate.
Such an exaggeration.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
but I mean, that was a big hurdle, and I think one of the things that helped us to overcome that was being able to say, hey, I'm a man, I'm blue, you're pink, and you were wired this way. Help me.
Yeah.
Like, help me to, reach or at least come close to your expectations. And I think many marriages are failing because expectations are not being met.
Yeah.
And there's a standard of I want it to be this way, and no, it needs to be there because this is the right way.
Yeah.
And there's not just one right way to do things. And also sometimes, two wrongs don't make a right. And I think we both made a decision to kind of lower our pride and lower our, our standard and say, okay, we need to be able to meet in the middle. We need to be able to negotiate. And, I was able to tell you, hey, listen, I feel like I have pink, sweat coming out my pores. I'm communicating all I can. Can you help me? Yeah. Can you tell me when I miss it? And when I do miss it, can you forgive me, please, so that I can learn? And I think that helps us to grow.
Absolutely. Right? I agree. 100%.
What do you think? So would you say that after communication, sex is a big problem?
I believe.
What do you hear from the women when you talk to women about their marriages?
It's more like communication, like external things, like feeling loved and appreciated.
Because I can tell you right now what the men are dealing with.
There you go.
I don't want to say it out loud. Sex. And it's such an issue in many regards. Some, it's, porn, growing up watching porn, and they want to compare their wives to that porn star. Or they want to do all these things that they saw in the porn, and the wives are not comfortable with it. Or because of that, there's a lot of lust in their mind, and they're still sleeping with their exes and with all those experiences while they're with their wives. So there's not true intimacy.
That's so sad.
So that's a big issue in marriage. I've seen as well the issue where men sometimes want it more, and the woman doesn't want it as much.
Right.
And there's kind of like
clash.
There's a clash, and I think to a fault the men make the mistake in wanting withdrawals from no deposits, right? Isn't it? How important is it to you? Like, I mean, you and I, we be going all out, but
Yeah, we got 4 children, by
we,
the way.
we got fruit to back it up.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
there you
I mean,
go.
we could honestly keep producing fruit, but we're like, we're okay with 4.
Yeah,
Jesus,
yeah.
please. You know what I mean?
See?
But like, do you think that a woman that is not giving man sex that must be what, an empty love tank, frustration? What do you think it is?
Most definitely feeling unappreciated, undervalued, and unloved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course there's this vicious cycle where the woman will disrespect the man because there's no love, and all she wants is that a love and attention and affirmation. But because she's out of hurt and spite, it's coming across disrespectful. The man is just going to sew back, the lack of love and lack of attention.
Yeah, it's that vicious cycle that goes around and around, right? But I think that sometimes the woman has an expectation of how she wants to be loved,
Yep, that's
and
true.
the man could be given his love in his kind of way
Yeah.
and feels like she's not valuing it,
Yeah.
not understanding. That's where we get love languages, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
so I mean, for him, maybe his love language is physical touch, and he's like, "Come here, mamacita,"
Yeah.
mami, que vola
Come on.
chula.
You can touch me all you want.
and then what happens is she's like, "That's
That's
great,
not my love tank.
but that's not my love tank,"
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you give her quality time, and she's jumping off of a wire like Tarzan, and she's like, "Oh, I'm coming," you know what I
my
mean? I'll meet you there,
Oh my
So I think that being able to understand, what, one of the ways that I learned what your love languages was by what you complained. Like, like I remember you would be like, "You haven't spent any time with me." I'm like, "We just went out on a date,"
Yeah.
and I started getting mad because I'm like, "Bro, she's not appreciative. She's not grateful." I mean, I set out this romantic dinner, took you out. We went to the movies. We banged it out at night. We had a great time. And now a few days later or a week later or whatever it was at the time, it was like, it's been, and you would say these words and I couldn't stand it. "We haven't dated in a long time." And I was just like, wait, let me enseñarte los recibos. Let me show you the receipts of all those payments. And I was like, this is not fair. And it'll get me mad because I felt you were devaluing.
Yeah, I would generalize like, you never spend time with me.
Yeah.
And it's just been like a day and a half.
You can't. And so I had to learn not to take it personal and to understand that what you were really saying is, I enjoyed it, but I'm ready for more. Like, I'm ready to connect. I want you. Like, I've had a hard day at work. I've been stressful. I need you. That's what you're trying to say. I just couldn't decode it. I didn't have enough web designing, back coding to be able to catch up with the wild,
Oh my gosh.
But I'm getting there. You know what I mean? The
Yeah,
Bible does say that marriage is a mystery.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul compares marriage to the mystery of, Christ, being the head of the church.
Yeah.
And so, only he can really unveil these and decode these things, right? So I notice you're touching me a little bit more as we talk. We may have to pause for technical difficulties. Sex. So, yeah, I think communication is huge for sex, for connection, for everything. And it's definitely a huge, and it's an art. Like men who feel that they'll never be able to meet up. You're not supposed to be able to talk as much or communicate as much as your wife. God, men speak up. They say about 5,000 or more words. Women like 15, 20 or more. Yeah. So you're never going to out talk or out communicate, but you can definitely get closer to that, and you can definitely be vulnerable to share with her and show her that you're trying. When a woman sees that you're trying and she's being loved and cared on the details, it melts your heart, right?
It does. It moves me, and it compels me to serve him in the areas that are love languages to him.
Yeah, and I think another issue is there's problems in marriage when the sex doesn't meet expectation. I think that some women there's women that have had a lot of sex in partners, and now they don't feel that their man satisfies them, and they're not happy. And that's a big problem, especially when you want to bring lust into the marriage. There's a difference between love and lust. Lust is going to be a greed. It's going to be selfish. It's going to be comparing. And that's one of the worst killers of marriage, is when you start comparing yourself to others, into looks, into size, into sex, how long so and so lasted, and you only last this much, or whatever it is, and feeling like a void when a woman, or in the case of a man, maybe the woman's body he's married to, she loves God, she's pure, but she don't got them fake titties, she don't got them fake booty, she don't got this design or that, whatever. And so the person is moving by their eyes, and it's lust. But when we go back to the Bible, when we go back to loving, we begin to see that love sees through God's eyes. And what that means to me is that there's beauty even in imperfection.
Yeah.
Like when you see through God's love,
Yes.
you can see even beauty in imperfection.
Yeah, and I think that it's safe to say we can land the plane here so we can have a part 2, because there's so much more to this subject.
It really is.
But one thing I really feel in my heart is something that my husband would share with me during that moment of intimacy was that sex is an art. And that sometimes maybe it wasn't to like that amazing experience based off of the honeymoon experience or the experience in
There's different experiences. Yeah, I actually read a book once that said that, I think it was, they said 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 experiences is a great one, and then one is okay, and one you have slip ups and whatever. And people put this pressure on having this certain performance, and love is not about a performance. Love is about being selfless and serving one another, and being able to fill that with the love of God, with detail, with care. And so if you move that pressure off and you take off of that and understand there's going to be some messy moments. Let's be real, where maybe the man comes before he should, or the woman gets left stranded and she's frustrated. That can happen. And instead of putting that pressure on you can say the ultimate goal isn't just orgasm. Orgasm is great, but it's that connection of intimacy. And if you have some struggles, you can talk it through and say, okay, maybe this is just a day to release a different kind of way, and that's okay, and not get mad at each other. Or maybe this is a certain day where I can serve you. I'm okay. It's not that I don't want you, it's that I'm not feeling good, but I still want to serve you. So I think being able to talk through things and communicate
working around the situation to find a solution
and negotiate with children, with bills, with marriage, with life, it's so vital, and it's so key.
Yeah. You can't end it there.
You sure? I see people that they ended there. Okay, ready?
Oh, okay.
3, 2, 1. So this is our end. 3, 2, 1. So there you have it, love and sex. I hope you enjoyed my first episode here on the podcast. Stay tuned for many more.